What is up, guys? Welcome to the Spear and Clover podcast. I'm your host, Jason Skisick. Spear and Clover podcast is for visionary entrepreneurs who see the way as it could be and can't help but take action. We connect those who think they can with those who knew they could. We are the petri dish that produces a culture of bigger dreams, better teams, and deeper pockets. We believe that if passion and curiosity guide our path, we can explore life and love the journey, all while achieving bigger and better goals. I'm super excited for my guest today. I've known these guys for a little while. Matt and Jen Rhodes. Matt and Jen Rhodes are the owners of Wild Child Fitness and Training, as well as 2Snap Fitness Studios near Johnson County, Kansas. Oh, and by the way, they have two amazing kids who are high-level athletes, and Matt has a full-time job as an executive at a Fortune 500 company. So Matt and Jen, thank you guys so much for coming on. That was a mouthful. How you guys doing?
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot.
That was a lot, right? First of all, thanks a lot for coming out. This is the very first podcast we've recorded, and I've talked to you guys so many times on the phone, but I'm so excited to kind of take a new dimension to this. And so if you could, can you kind of just introduce yourselves and tell me sort of, a little bit more about the businesses that you guys run?
Yeah, Jen and I met in college, and I immediately took a job.
4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Sure.
I immediately took a job with an auto manufacturer, which I'm still with today. Great job. We got into the fitness industry, I guess by chance, maybe. We both were competitive athletes, and then we gained some weight, and we wanted to lose weight. Yeah. And unfortunately, we weren't happy with any of the offerings around where we lived. And we decided we're going to open our own gym. I came from an entrepreneurial family, and it was just kind of the next step for both of us. And that's how we got into the gym business. That was 15 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. And what was your entrepreneurial background?
My parents own and operate grocery stores along with my brothers.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And what were your sports in college?
I was baseball and football.
And I was cheer and dance.
Oh, get out of here, you two. You guys are cute as a button. So Jen, what about from your side? Did you have any kind of entrepreneurial inklings before you guys got started?
No, honestly, I'm actually agricultural sales. So I've always kind of had that going through my veins. But in college, obviously being athletes, the weight loss techniques of 20 years ago didn't quite set us up for adulthood properly. Yeah. And I found I was struggling more, not only with finding an exercise regimen, but also just learning to heal my relationship with food.
Yeah.
And so that kind of started my own personal journey through different supplement companies, leading into, hey, maybe I want to lift weights. Oh, by the way, all these gyms are terrifying. Don't ever make me go there. Yeah. So that's kind of like the backstory of how we got to the gym industry. Fast forward 15 years later. Well, no, once we opened, we just kind of ran it how we would wanted to have been treated in the gyms that we left. Mm-hmm. And it truly, that was kind of the only filter that we put every decision through. Is this what we would have wanted when we were consumers?
Yeah.
And just kind of treating people how they want to be treated. Yeah. I joke with people still to this day that they remember me giving tours with our son on my hip.
Yeah.
Like we just immediately immersed our family into the environment, made sure that people knew that we're not going to cram fitness up your nose. We're going to make it applicable to your daily life. And we're just going to make this a very common sense journey, because so often we've just seen the opposite in the industry, and we wanted to change that. So
yeah. And I know you guys are very methodical, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but I'm kind of curious, what was that initial launch like? So there you guys were, you came out, you didn't necessarily, I can't wait. You didn't necessarily like what you saw in the local area as far as fitness and the gym and your relationships with food. But knowing you guys, I'm really excited to hear sort of like, what was the ramp up like? Did you take 3 years planning? Did you just start it in a warehouse? Like, tell me about when did you make the decision? Do you guys remember making that decision? And what was that decision like?
It's in our son's baby book, how we made the decision.
Yeah, there's at that time, we didn't have any money, but we knew what we wanted. And, I wouldn't tell anyone to do this today, because there's other ways to do it. But we ate peanut butter and jelly for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for over a year. And that was all we ate. And I'm not kidding. That was all we ate.
Horrible.
Not the nutritious way to go. But, when I had a job I made decent money, she had a job making decent money. and that's all you're eating, you can accumulate enough money for a down payment on your first gym. And, we had to call in some connections to, through my family to hopefully, get a loan from the bank, and it all worked out. It was scary though, because that first year that we opened was that the Great Recession, 2007, right around
'07.
Oh boy.
'07, we opened up
January 13th, Friday the 13th of '07.
That's crazy.
When the economy was crashing, and that's when we opened up our gym, but it was okay. We weren't in a snowstorm. Yeah. We weren't a low priced player, like you see today from some of the Planet Fitnesses. But at that time we were more reasonably priced compared to some of the big boxes out there. So it ended up working to our advantage. But it was scary. We learned a lot of lessons in that first year.
Yeah.
We lost $100,000 in cash the first year, and we said, we're not going to make it.
Wow.
We made every mistake you can make. And then we turned it around in year 2, and we're wildly cash flowing tons of money. And it was awesome. And then
stop. People want to know how. So what did you do different in year 2 that you didn't do in year 1?
Well, a few things. Number one, we started personal training because, 15 years ago, personal training was not that big of a deal in the type of gym we had. So we brought in personal training. So that brought in that additional revenue. And we also started looking at marketing expenses because, anyone that came to us saying, hey, I can bring you new members, we just gave them money, and it just didn't work. But it was really understanding what a P&L is. It was looking at expenses and being a business owner, being a real business owner, and not just someone who just opens up a gym. But the catch to it was in that year 2, we made all this money. And then in year 3, we figured out the biggest thing that a business owner can ever figure out. It's called cash flow. Because then we had to pay the government all the taxes on all that money we had.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the cash.
Oh boy.
So we had to go back to peanut butter and jelly just a little bit just to make sure we could pay our taxes. So we learned a lot of lessons in that first 3 years of, learning finances, learning cash flow, but also learning you got to save money to pay Uncle Sam. And just because the money comes in doesn't mean you can immediately go out and spend it. You've got to do some things and be smart about it.
Yeah.
And so you guys had the one location, you grew it over the first couple of years. At what point did you guys decide to open multiple locations? And I know you've had a couple of different, types of gyms. So maybe talk about that a little bit.
Year 3, we decided that we had recovered enough from the hit that paying the income taxes back. Yeah. But we decided that it was about time to expand as far as locations go. We would further expand that one location a couple years down the road. But, it was about that time that we started looking at just kind of like duplicating our processes. So year 3, we decided to open the second one, learned a ton again, and actually walked into that day 1 cash flowing already. So we were already in a better place opening the second gym than we were the first.
Yep.
Members in the tank, and just really, really banking on that small town community, just lifting that small business up immediately. So the second location was almost immediate.
It's profitable. It ran smooth.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. So a couple of questions about that. So let's talk a little bit about the model, right? So this is a general business podcast, so it's not just for gym owners out there. So let's talk a little bit about how do we acquire clients? What does fulfillment look like? What does the team look like at this point? You don't have to be in super detail, but what were you guys doing at that point to acquire clients and to grow these businesses?
It's changed a lot. And I'm not talking just from the tactics. Obviously the tactics have changed because, you didn't have Facebook back then. You didn't have all those things, but also
how you communicate to these prospects.
Yeah.
We were such, diehard, get them on the phone. Whereas now it's not so much the case as far as, making sure that people are followed up with.
So you guys were cold calling leads and things like that a lot?
Cold calling. Yeah. I mean, we'd still really rested in warm market referrals, things like that. But, just the tactics of, putting your ad on the back of a receipt of a grocery store doesn't bring anybody in anymore. Right.
Running newspaper ads. We did all that, good tours when they come into your business, making sure and this doesn't change today. I think this will always be having a clean, comfortable, inviting environment that people can come into, whether it's a gas station or a gym. You got to have that you just got to have that. And one thing, and I'm going to divulge into a different area is one thing Jen and I call the orange cord theory. So you've been in business, and I didn't come up with this. I read this in a book somewhere. you've been in business for 15 years. If it's the same location, you have this orange cord that you put in on day one to connect something, a treadmill, and it's not a big deal because you're going to change it in a few days. Well, then business picks up and things start going. And 15 years later, that orange cord is still sitting there, but every person that walks in the door looks at it and says, wow, that's hideous.
Yeah.
So we've learned over the years that we can't get so ingrained in our business that we miss the orange cords. And when I say orange cord, it's the way we treat a customer. It is the orange cord if there is an orange cord, but it's all the processes that we do. Is it really customer friendly? Because the things we did back then don't work today. Not just with marketing either, with just how we work with consumers.
Yeah. How you speak to them, how you interact with them. Even in just the last 2 years, I think we've all witnessed a shift in how we communicate. And that's also helped us to pivot and evolve our message. Mm-hmm. So,
and the competition's changed.
Yes.
Back then, 15 years ago, we could be anything and everything to everybody. And today you can't do that. Today you have to find your niche, your avatar, your exact client, and you only go after them. At least that's what's worked for us. When you only go after that person, you get a spillover from the other ones. But back then, we could just put an ad in a newspaper and people would walk in.
And you also don't burn yourself out trying to please everyone.
Yeah.
That's another lesson we learned during COVID.
Yeah. And tell me about your avatar.
Well, for which company?
Business?
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
In general, the avatar it's someone who is, and it's changed, but we really cemented this about 12 months ago. For us, it's someone who is an everyday working mom or dad who's got kids, and they're basically living the same day 365 days a year. They get up, they go to work, they come home, they have family dinner, they watch some TV, they do the same thing on the weekend. They spend all weekend at the fields, whether it's football, baseball, lacrosse, basketball, doesn't matter. And they start all over again. But deep down, they know that there is more to life than what they're doing right now, whether that's in their body, their mind, their finances. And that's a sliver of that avatar, but it's that person that wants to be more than what they are currently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you there's a lot of people listening about that. I want to hit something you mentioned earlier. You talked about learning about cash flow, and I know that you've grown your businesses. So how did you mitigate that huge tax expense? Were you just continually pouring back into the business, into CapEx and into expansion and growth? Is that what you guys did?
Yeah. So, and we weren't taking money out of the company. We were basically pouring back into the company. It was all in marketing. So, it all worked out. We got this huge bill and we were like, holy crap, what do we do here? Yeah. But we were wise enough that we weren't out buying new cars and things like that. All that money was going into marketing and people. And so the cash flow just kept coming. Mm-hmm. And it just kept going. But we'd had that first year where we were so scared, we didn't know if it was going to keep coming, but we invested back in the business and did the right things. And that money was coming. We were able to pay the bills and it all worked out. But cash flow is, it's more important than anything now.
Yeah. And were you able to have you always had a good accountant? Did you, how did that work as far as, because I know that can make or break the growth 100%. Of a company. In my experience, like if you have, I've had two primary accountants as I've been in business over the last 10 or 12 years. And one of them, every idea, cause we're entrepreneurs, we're visionaries, we're coming up with ideas. What if I try that? What if I do that? And one of them, it was always no, and then the guy that I work with now, it's always yes, but. So I was like, yeah, we can do that, but we have to make sure that we stay within these. And I just love that concept of finding
a perfect description of who we have now.
Yeah. So for the first 5 years, we just had I would say an order taker, really wasn't doing much with it. And then we found a guy and he's the same way. He will tell us, you can do this, but be aware of this, or we can do this. But one thing we learned over the years is we never question our accounting, their bill, our attorney bill, or our payroll.
Yeah.
And we're always looking at payroll, but I'm saying we never question when our accountant sends our bill because it's worth it. And if you ever question that, then you don't have a good accountant. You've got to go out and get someone who's good. Same thing with our attorney. And then same thing with our people. If we've got good people, just pay people the right amount of money and don't question it.
That's unbelievable. And I think that's really good advice. I know that it's interesting because you guys are analytical and deliberate and you plan, but you're such an there's so much abundance in the way that you guys talk. And this is even just demonstrated here today, but I've known you guys and had many of these conversations with you in the past. And so it's an unusual combination. Usually I'm abundant and I just go way the hell out over my skis and I'm over a cliff before you know it. Or I'm a scarcity person and I'm pinching every penny and eating the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But, I'm not, a person of abundance. I love that combination for you guys.
I think that's a perfect explanation of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that funny?
I tend to jump without a parachute and I just figure, I'll bounce. It's fine.
Yeah. My best friend and his wife, me and my wife, you guys, if we were all in a circle, it's the same thing. Yeah. I think it's very interesting the way that works. There's like I forget the saying, but there is a meme where it's like, every couple needs one crazy person and one like sane person. Like you can't have two crazies and you can't have two sanes, but I'm definitely the crazy one in the family for sure. Donald
that
would
means
say.
I'm sane.
No,
yeah. There you go.
I don't think so.
So talk to me about how this, so when do kids come along? Like, how does this go as far as you guys as a couple and as a family? Like, how has that at this point, right?
Kids came along right about the same time we started our fitness journey. Like we graduated college, got married, moved away, gained some weight, came back, and we're like, oh crap, we gained some weight. We got to get it off. Lost the weight, got pregnant. Everybody's story, right? So we already had our daughter, our oldest, when we started really looking into the fitness industry. And that's why I joked earlier that when we planned the first gym, it's in our son's baby book, because we sat down and planned when we needed to get pregnant, if we wanted to have that second baby, before we started this financial journey of building this dream, this gym. So yeah, that's what we did, down to the spreadsheet. We still have the spreadsheet of like figuring out finances. Okay, if I'm going to get pregnant, it has to happen here. Luckily, the universe complied.
Yeah.
And everything else just kind of fell into place. So we were done expanding our family before we started our business journey.
Okay.
So they both have grown up in both businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of their second home.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's awesome. And so meanwhile, day to day, Matt's gone to work, more than 9 to 5, I have to imagine. And Jen, so what's day to day life like at the Rhodes house?
Day to day currently, or with baby?
Before, like in the thick of it, with kids.
Before. So, well, obviously we made sure that we had childcare. Yeah. Because putting children in crates is illegal. So get up, get the children around. We've always kind of had the beauty of our business model. It's a 24-hour facility. So I didn't have to have staff until a certain time. And so we've just always established that staff would be there between like 9 and 1 or 9 and 2 or 9 and 3, just whenever I had that childcare available, because being mom was very important to me at night. Also because he traveled with his job. So there were 4 nights a week he'd be gone. So after 3 o'clock or, wherever I had childcare up until within reason, I didn't want them spending their entire day in childcare, but until 3 o'clock, 9 to 3, I was SNAP or training or whatever. And then from 3 o'clock on, I'm mom. And that's just kind of what life looked like until probably until they were in like 4th and 5th grade.
Yeah. And that was important part of our business so she says it's 24 hours, but it's a key card access. So that meant that if for some reason we couldn't be there, we didn't have to be there. Now, obviously to run a business, you need people there to help members out. And we had part-time staff, but in the beginning we didn't. And that's why our hours were set that way. So she could drop them off at school, pick them up from school, and then be with them at night, because I travel, Monday through Friday, was out of town. So I would travel out on Monday, come home on Friday, and I go work the evening shift at the gym on Friday. And I work on Saturday, then I work on Sunday, and then start all over. And we did that for a while until we felt bold enough to start hiring new people and staff to start taking some of those hours away from us.
Yeah. And once you guys started to do that, talk to me about what it was like for you guys building a team, for you. And this is at this point 2 locations by now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about, how are you finding people that could match? Because people listening to this right now are probably like, how the hell are they guys what are the drugs you're taking? What are the, and I'd love to hear more about how you guys fit it all in, but how do you go out and find people that are going to be able to execute at the standard you guys set? What was your strategy for that?
Well, I don't know if we had the best strategy. We found good people within the gym. But, at that time, I don't think it really saved us any hours, because, the wrong way to do it is to hire people and train them good and then check every single thing they do. And I would spend all my time you do have to inspect what you expect, but I think there was too much time that we were probably not allowing people to be themselves, and not be Matt and Jen. And if we would have given a little bit more of that autonomy, I think we probably would have done even better. But we were finding them just, Jen's naturally attracts people to her with her personality, and people wanted to be around that infectious thing. And they were part-time staff, so they go to their job during the day, and then they wanted somewhere to get away. And that was the gym, because that was the environment that Jen had created at the gym, was a fun place to get away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great point. Jen, anything to add there?
Yeah, and it's funny that you asked this, because I literally just talked about this yesterday in my own business page. Was, for the longest time we just hired, and I don't want to say warm bodies, because that's not what they were. Okay. These are people that are family members of us, extended family members, I guess, people that, joined in our vision, but we weren't up to the leaders that we needed to be yet. And so, just for the last year, we had some major turnover, lost a few key people. And instead of going about it the normal way we did, I got really intentional. We both got really intentional with working on ourselves first. We had to become what we would want to employ, that perfect mix of everything. I couldn't expect somebody to be me, because there's no other me. I'm me, but that's okay. Like, we had to work on our leadership. We had to work on even just our mental health, just becoming that person that we wanted to attract. And the minute we put our words behind that intention, the right people are going to find us. The right people are going to find us. Like, we were so crystal clear in our vision and our mission, and even our North Star surrounding our family. Like, once we got really crystal clear on that, law of attraction just took over. And it's been fun to watch my current management team, like all the new people coming. They're like, where have these people been for the last 5 years? I'm like, don't worry. I'm going to keep working on this juju because it's working really well for us. Like, every single person I've hired the last 7 months has been absolutely perfect for what we needed them to be. And I think instead of trying to figure out what the role is and hopefully hire for that role, we pick the person and put the role around them.
You just said something's key. So I'll share this with you. I just literally last week called a manager that we lost a year and a half, 2 years ago. Who's a rock star. And I called her and I thanked her. And it was she went on to a great job. It was all good. We're still really close with her. But it finally sunk in the other day, and I called and I thanked her for everything she taught me as a boss and as a leader, because I didn't do the right things back then. And I didn't support her with the right people. We didn't do all the things that we're doing now for our staff. So when Jen says, hey, they're just falling in our lap, that's the way it feels, but it's not. It's because we had to change ourselves. And I think we were good to work with, but we didn't. I don't know. It's different. It's so
organic right now.
But I had to call and thank her. Everything that I did wrong, I learned, and now I'm doing it completely different, and Jen's doing it completely different, and the staff is just coming and it's just working.
Yeah. So I hear you saying things like vision. I hear you saying North Star. I hear you saying things like mission. Do you guys have, and I'm not going to put you on the spot and make you recite it unless you want to, but do you have your mission written down? Do you have your core values written down and identified? And if so, what was that process like? And at what point were you really able to dial that in?
Yeah, that was a long process, because we really had to figure out what the North Star was. And a mission can come out of that, but you have to know, number one, what is the number one thing? And it's written everywhere. And our kids even know it. It's family first. Okay. So then from there, every decision is my family first. Okay, now we can move forward. Yeah. In developing the vision for the businesses, I think we also kept that North Star at the top, because we can change the world, but if our family isn't first, it's for nothing. So in determining this new mission, there was all these things that we wanted to say and change the world and save lives. And
it boiled down to really 4 things. And Jen says the family thing because we screwed up on the family thing. Yeah, we really did. Big. And it may sound like everything's rosy and gold now, but it was not, a few years ago, because we were not putting family first. It was business first, and it really screwed things up. And that's I think that's the thing that just crushes business the most when whether the spouses are together in a business or even not, is not understanding that. But we just sat down and we said, what's important to us? And we got it down to, 4 things. And that was kind of our core values. And they basically in turn went right into the business. So what Jen and I's core values are what our core values of our business is. And it doesn't change. It's the same thing.
Yeah, me too. It's funny you say that. I agree. And if do you want to tell us what those 4 are, or is that something you don't want to say?
We'll hold off.
Okay, no problem at all. No problem at all. But for me, it's the same thing as, this is a new business for me, and I've had core values with my businesses kind of going through, and they are a little different. But what I've found is they're the same. You just say them in a different way. Yeah. Because like you're saying, I think the more that you're, the charismatic central figure of your business, the more that business will reflect you and your core values, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I think I'm hoping that listeners have already picked up on this, but we are smack dab in the middle of this like great resignation or whatever people are calling it, where people are leaving every job. I mean, all the way up to, I have friends that can't keep, $80,000 a year employees, and not just, the people at the grocery store or the personal trainers in your gyms, but people are quitting at this huge rate. And I suspect they're all coming to work for you. But I wonder if you could speak about that, because I have not I don't know if you have, but I haven't lost anybody to that. But I've seen dozens of entrepreneurs I've spoken with where they can't hire anybody. And when they hire them, they put them through this really great training and then they leave. And so maybe you could speak a little bit, to the current, employment situation and how you guys have mitigated that and what you think you're benefiting from.
I don't even know how we would explain that.
I'd like to.
Yeah, then go ahead. Yeah, go right ahead.
Perfect.
So you talked about this great resignation and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, is there?
Right.
I don't subscribe. Like, we turned all that noise off.
Right.
So if you were to tell me, oh my God, it's raining outside, I'd be like, oh, really? Oh, all right. Yeah. I don't let that message get in. So, making the decision that we were changing our business, we're going to hire the right people. They're going to find us automatically, and then turn all the other noise off. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we don't watch the news. I have no idea. I had no idea Bill Gates and Melinda broke up. No clue. I'm like, oh, all right. Because it doesn't affect my world, because my world.
I just found out about it now.
Did you? Oh my God.
Crestfallen.
Oh my God. Do we need to talk about it?
No,
we don't need to waste energy on it. But it's something that the more, as a business owner, the more you perpetuate that statement, you're going to stay in it. And that's it. And that is a great flip from where we were, even just a year ago. I could not get anybody to stick and stay. And I was that person. I was that employer, wasting so many hours on the people that just wouldn't stay, or they'd turn out terrible, or blah, blah, blah. And I'd keep perpetuating that same dialogue. And I'm like, nope, it's done. In March, I decided we're done with that mentality. And it was just like flipping a switch. Yeah. I know that sounds out there, but the more you can. And
maybe it's looking for the best in people. I don't know. But she's right. We turned everything off. And now we do only see, I don't know if that's the way to explain it, but we only see the best in people and the best in the world. And they just seem to start, they just started landing in our business.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, the people you're hiring, I'm sure, are aware of what's going on, but I love that you guys are just kind of laying the track as you go and staying focused on that. And I think that's an attractive quality among many other things, right, that you guys are doing. And so where do you guys go from here? What's the mountain you guys are trying to climb?
Well, we have a 90-year plan, which obviously we're not going to make it another 90 years.
Fucking love you guys. Go ahead.
Same.
So we've developed our 90-year plan down to the detail of who's going to be in our life, what kind of cars we're going to drive. I mean, when I go sit in the car that I'm going to buy, I can smell that car and I know everything about it. And just, we've got all that stuff laid out. I think for us, there's a lot of things that are going to happen in the future, but it's about continuing to build a team, get our gyms exactly where we want them, so that we can provide really good long-term careers for people that want to be in the fitness industry, that it isn't, there's no turnover. It's just that they love coming to work every day. Jen's going to expand and blow up her online training company and continue to go from there. There's more in that 90-year plan. It's very succinct in everything we're going to do.
It's very distinct.
Jen.
Yeah. Breathing underwater is part of the 90-year plan.
What's that?
I want to breathe underwater. So
I think you should learn how to breathe underwater.
I'm going to say it. So now the person that's going to help me is going to find me.
Hey, if you're out there working on, breathing underwater technology, hit Jen.
Right.
Speaking of which, Jen's talking about, Matt just mentioned Jen's online business. If I was somebody that was overweight and out of shape, which I may or may not be, and I didn't live near you, how would I get in contact with you, Jen?
Yeah, so you can get in contact with me either on Instagram at Wild Child Fitness or Facebook at wildchild.fitness, I think.
Awesome.
Or wildchildfitness.com.
Today's show is brought to you by HighLevel CRM. HighLevel is an all-in-one platform designed to help entrepreneurs grow their businesses without the need for multiple softwares or an IT team. Not only does their easy-to-use software allow you to track and manage your leads throughout each phase of the relationship, but it also allows you to build funnels, track stats, and more. Guys, I sat down and added up the cost of software I was able to replace with just one app, and it was over $1,000 per month. Because this is an all-in-one application, I also save a ton of headaches connecting apps and building automations, and the team at Go High Level does a great job of getting you started quickly and easily when you sign on. I cannot more highly recommend these guys. Right now, Spear and Clover listeners get a free 14-day trial of HighLevel CRM for themselves. Click the link in our show notes to support the show and get started on your free 14-day trial today. Today's show is brought to you by Scaling with Media. I mean, literally, if it weren't for the folks at Scaling with Media, you would not be getting this. Scaling with Media is a truly revolutionary company for any entrepreneur who wants to reach a larger audience without taking on the years of experience necessary to master the required skills. These guys do it all. From helping you develop your creative plan to editing, sourcing content, copywriting, ads management, and way more. Whether you're looking to launch a YouTube channel or podcast, or you just want to scale your business out to more eyeballs, these guys are the absolute best one-stop shop. But that's not all. Right now, Spear and Clover listeners who sign up for their brand launch package will receive a free professional grade studio kit that I'm actually recording right now on. The studio kit includes a professional microphone, stand, lighting, and headphones, and is worth well over $500. Take action now by going to scalingwithmedia.com/spear and claim your free studio kit. Again, that's scalingwithmedia.com/spear, scalingwithmedia.com/spear. Now back to the show. So what have you guys, I'm not exactly sure how to ask this question, but what have you guys sacrificed? There's only so many silos of attention that we have, right? And so, we've heard just through your story, eating the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I'm certain that you could regale us with more stories like that. The question, I guess, would be is there areas of your lives where you feel that you guys had to make a deliberate choice to sacrifice something in favor of your goals?
Yes. I've got a couple examples.
Yeah.
Some good and bad. So I'll start with the bad.
Maybe not deliberate choices.
Yeah, not deliberate choices. Well, one's deliberate, but the one that was undeliberate was, we mentioned the 2 gyms. We've mentioned her online training company. We've mentioned my full-time job. But there was a span in there of 5 to 6 years where we kind of blew up and started buying a lot of businesses and opening a lot of businesses.
Okay.
And what we realized, what we gave up that time was family time. We tried to go too big, too fast and do it without not having that mindset of surrounding ourselves with good people, which is the most, I say cash flow is the number one thing, but I think actually the number one thing is good people. And number 2 is cash flow. Yeah. We didn't have the best people around us. We didn't surround ourselves that way. And we gave up a lot of family time, and family was not our North Star. Where now, you can hear it clearly through our message now that it is, and nothing gets in the way of that. And we gave up a lot, whether from us spending good quality time and just as simple things as a family dinner. Mm-hmm. And I think business owners out there need to realize that money does grow on trees. There's more money out there. It's not going to go away.
Banks throw away money.
Yeah.
Wrap your head around it.
If you have dinner with your family at night instead of working that shift, that money's it's just energy. That's all it is. And you need to put the energy into your family. And that's the one thing that we gave up unintentionally for a few years that we'll never, ever, ever do again. Mm-hmm. Intentionally, some things we've given up is probably our social life. We have a great social life, but our friends are, it's a small circle, and it's not a big circle. We have a lot of acquaintances. We have a very small circle of people that we spend our time with.
We choose to spend
our time with because they lift us up.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
And we seek people who are, that are much like us, but we also like to be around people who are
on a higher level
than us. So we want people that are making more money than us, that know more than us. We want to be around them.
Well, financially, but also just even a higher level of thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I love people that can massage my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
That
want to
sounds
be,
great.
what's the saying? We want to be the small fish in the ocean, not the shark in the tank. I don't know what that We want to be around people who are doing bigger things than us. And again, not just with money, but with life.
Mm-hmm.
They're not afraid to go do those things. So I guess I didn't really answer your question, but we have given up some of those special weekends of going and partying all weekend and doing those things. We still do it, but we just don't do it as much because we now want to make sure we can wake up early and be with our family and spend time with our son while he's still in high school.
Yeah. And I think that's an excellent answer. I also think though that I think if I'm watching this and I'm somebody that's just getting started, or I'm somebody who feels busy already, I mean, it's the same as a fitness client, right? A fitness client comes in and says, well, you don't understand my life. There's no way I could carve out 3 hours a week or whatever. It's like, motherfucker, you're watching 2 hours of Netflix last week or whatever.
There it is.
So whatever it is. So like, as if I'm watching this from the outside, and frankly, even me, like I guarantee you're doing more than I am right now. Just guaranteed. You have much more going on.
You have a different section of priorities screaming at you.
We're very different. Yeah. In that way,
Literally.
we're very different. Yeah. For sure. we got Lucy, the 4.5-month-old baby just in the other room who's doing great.
I text him and I'm like, did you eat today?
Yeah.
Okay. Good job.
But I guess if I was one of those people, if I was watching this thinking like, well, how are they fitting this? Because I think you hear these terms like super mom or like super parent or whatever. And I think that there's this people want to give themselves permission to not try to be like you. And so I guess what I would say is like, what would you tell somebody who thinks that this is too much or would be overwhelming? And is there any message there for that? Or is that just kind of different strokes for different folks?
No, that's I love that question. And I truthfully, I used to subscribe to that mentality as well. Like there was a common theme of people asking me, I don't know how you do it. How are you doing this?
Yeah.
And at first it was like, I don't know. I'm doing it. I don't know. Like it's just happening. But in working on just our own mental health, our own mental stamina, I've been able to let the real things that need my attention get my attention. And then the rest is just stuff. And then I put it through the North Star. And if it goes through, then cool, I'll do it. And if not, I politely decline.
Mm-hmm.
I think so many people are looking for permission to do everything. More is just more. And I think that's the biggest lesson that we've learned in business. I think like more businesses are just more businesses.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good or bad. And if you think you can mentally handle more and it fits through that North Star, great.
Mm-hmm.
If not, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Quit making it so damn hard.
Mm-hmm. A great example of this is, and she said that she's spot on because that's the way we work. Because I think that the super mom, the busy entrepreneur, I think that's where we were. And that's kind of where we started coming crashing down years ago. And where we've changed that now, this is a great example. The other day we're sitting there and our business is heating up right now. And generally October, November is really a kind of a slow time in the gym business. It starts to go a little bit and then it starts to get towards
Like
January, and January explodes.
The Monday after Thanksgiving is always our busiest day, but the 2 weeks leading up to is like chirping crickets. It's not right now.
Yeah.
It's buzzing.
It's crazy. And she comes to me the other day and says, hey, I'm starting to feel a little bit of stress. Who do we need to hire?
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I said. We sat down, looked at our org chart and said, where do we need people? What do we feel like is falling through the crack? And so the answer to that is obviously we have our priorities, but once they don't hit that North Star and we feel it's taking us away, it's who do we need to bring into our world to relieve this?
Yeah.
And so now we've got an interview for someone on tomorrow.
Yeah.
That will hopefully start taking some of that relief away.
That's exciting. I'm happy for you guys. One other thing I want to point out, and I'll preface it by reading part of this mission statement that I wrote. We believe that if passion and curiosity guide our path, we can explore life and enjoy the journey, all while achieving bigger and bolder goals. That's you, right? Like if I asked you to build a waste management company using exactly the same tactics and techniques, Jen's head would fall off. Matt would, jump off a cliff. Like it wouldn't work, right? And I think there's an elegance to just like flowing with the thing that your energy is already focused on, right? I've done more work in the last 2 weeks setting up this podcast than I have in the previous, well, probably not, but than the previous 2 months, right? Like some amount of things. I've gotten an astonishing amount of things done. I mean, and it was easy. It was easy. And I'm like building a crib in the basement at the same time. And all of that's easy because it's the thing that I want my energy to be going towards, right? And I just hear that so much. And it's like you guys have chosen careers and businesses that so clearly match who you guys are as people and as leaders. And I think that is clearly coming through. With that said, if I told you had to start another business from scratch tomorrow that couldn't be in fitness, what would it be? Or nutrition. Don't give me that cop-out answer.
I would, I know my answer. It would probably, which is tough. It would probably be in consulting in some form. Doesn't necessarily have to be in the gym business because I like seeing businesses do well. Mm-hmm. It would be a little tough for me though, because I want it to be my business and me doing those things. But I think for me, it would probably be some sort of consulting within businesses. And, and not that I know so much, but I know a lot of shit that I did wrong. Mm-hmm. and that's what I would help the next business owner not do those same mistakes that I did.
Yeah.
And Jen, I want to hear yours, but I want to address that real quick. Having just come from a consulting business that I owned, I don't think it's about knowing the answers. I think it's about understanding how to be the scales. Right. And I think you do very well at that. I really do. I don't think you need to have the answer as much as you need to look at how do we analyze and solve problems and then just go from there. Cause I can see you guys, I'm sure you could build a waste management business if you guys were fucking jazzed about it. But Jen, what about you? If you had to start a business from scratch tomorrow, what would it be?
Permission to ask a question.
Yeah. What's up?
Is dance fitness?
Are you? If it makes you sweaty, then it's fitness. So if you're talking, I'm just kidding. There's no rules. If you feel like it would be dance,
I know what she would do.
What would I do?
Do what you did before you got in the gym business. She loved it. She'd be designer.
Oh,
that was fun.
Yeah, she likes spending other people's money.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Where's that? Can I sign up for that? I'd love to spend other people's money.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
So like interior design or what kind of design?
So I got to design the former owner of the Royals. I got to design the interior of his house.
Wow.
It was so cool. So I literally it was when I was pregnant with our son. I threw up in his sub basement floor.
Yeah.
I promise I did.
He's just finding out about that now.
Well, he has, but anyway.
Oh, okay. So
he is really.
Next question would be, if you had unlimited resources to grow your current businesses, what would you use those resources for? If the constraint was cash or capital, what would be different? How would you grow your businesses? And what would you in what way?
I know how I'd answer that.
I'll let you go first then.
I'd buy my own building.
Good one. Yeah. Good one.
I'd buy my own building and I'd make sure that everything that we have currently, we've had to bolt on a few pieces as we've built, right? I'd remove that distraction. So yeah, I'd own our own building.
That's a good one. I didn't think of that one.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think a limitless way is anything you can put into your people.
Yeah.
And we are on that path, even though there is limited amounts of cash you can do. We're bringing in insurance for our managers starting January. And then we made the decision last week to do the same thing for our coaches, which that just doesn't really happen in the industry. So our coaches anyone who's full-time is going to get insurance from us. And, looking at ways that you can incentivize people, not to help them sell more, but to make their life better. I told one of our employees, my goal was for her to buy a new car and be making over $100,000 a year. It's not because she'll sell more. It's because that's just it's right for her. Mm-hmm. And if I see her driving a nice new car, I'm going to feel good about it. So I think if I had unlimited things, it would be pouring it back into people in the gym staff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be the fuel for somebody else's rocket ship. They're the fuel for your rocket ship. You can then in turn be the fuel for their rocket ship. That's exciting. And so what else? What else would you guys like to talk about today? Is there anything that we haven't covered, or what makes you guys keep going?
I would say something that and as because we've talked offline a lot. Jen and I went through a major transformation the last 12 months, mentally and physically as well, and financially in every aspect of our life. But one thing that we put into place that I always thought I always heard about this, but I thought I was too busy. And I would encourage any business owner to think about this. You don't have to do it your way. Don't do it my way. But we were taught by a mentor of ours is the way we set up our day. We wake up, she wakes up earlier than I do, but she wakes up at 5 a.m. I wake up at 5:30, 6 a.m. 5:15. Okay. And you got to start your day the right way. And the way we start ours is we try to get in 15 to 20 minutes of meditation in the morning. And, I'm 44 years old and I hadn't meditated for the first 43 years of my life. And all of a sudden I've done it. To meditate for 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, first part of your day, just to get your mind in that right space. And then for the next 15 to 20 minutes, read something, not audiobook, but pick up a book that you're physically going to read that's going to help you create something, whether it's create a better family, a better business, a better spirituality, whatever it is, and read that for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And then the key part is you finish it off with your goals, and that is not just your short-term goals, but long-term goals. Like, I want to have this with my body. I want to have this with my finances. I want to have this with my family, and not like in a month or 2 months and 3 months, like 5 years down the road. And the reason is because those long-term goals, your brain's just going to start working in the background on those long-term goals. If you schedule them too short, you give your brain too much time to do other things. So that's how we start our day. It's a victory hour. First hour of the day. That's how we do it. Nothing gets in the way. And then try and build something in the morning and not jump on the emails. And then the last part is at the end of the night, it's that victory lap. That's where we sit down. We kind of reassess our day for we spend maybe 20 minutes on that. How do we do on what we were doing that day? So not only financially, but did I tell my wife her butt looked good that day? did I tell my?
You did.
I did. Okay.
You did already. We can just check that box.
Did I do all the things that I needed to do as a father, a husband, and a business owner that day? And if I didn't, how can I make it better? And then plan out the next day's tasks at the end of the night, so I know where I'm going to go.
Yeah,
that'd be one thing I would share.
Yeah,
to help. It's helped us get rid of a lot of the stuff.
I think that's perfect. And just to add to that, truthfully, because that's exactly what I was going to say, because you're perfect. And your butt looks good too.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I agree.
I know. Yes. Your butt looks good too, Jason. In business, in health and fitness, in nutrition, in any type of area that we're, individuals want to get better. How can I be better? We're always looking for that quick fix, that silver bullet, right? Everybody's looking for the silver bullet. And I've always said, there's no silver bullet. I have to say the silver bullet is working on that mindset. And the minute I was intentional and religious about that victory hour, even 20 days later, I had a completely different take on life, on how I handled stress. And the point of when I started to employ it was a very, very stressful portion of our marriage, family life, just insane. I won't get into the details, but it was just, there was 20 minutes of sleep every night.
Wow.
But I was intentional. I knew I had to do just this piece. Like, put your mask on before you help others with their mask.
Yeah.
Which is one of
our core values. Yeah.
And I love that. Go ahead.
But that's the silver bullet. Like, if I could leave anything, like, should I count macros? Like, should I do keto? No. Freaking meditate, dude.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love that. Well, that was great. Have you guys ever floated? You guys ever done a float tank?
No, I need to. I need to.
I do ice baths though. And that's great, but it's a very different and wholly more terrifying experience. I'm actually interviewing the person that owns the chain of them that I go to next week, so I'm super excited about that. But I would highly recommend going to try that. It's such a great way to kind of lay everything out on the table and move it around. Yeah. And also, Matt, you talked about, really being considerate of your long-term goals. It's nice to know where the trees are on the horizon so you can kind of just generally point towards that as an entrepreneur and as you're going.
That also helps if you're car sick too.